This is the Louis T. Network.
The Redskins report.
You can put us on the board, yeah! We got one, fellas. We got one. First things first. Huge shout out to the Denver Broncos. Without you, I don't know if this victory is possible. Thanks a lot. And with that, welcome to the Redskins report. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Now look, took a long time to get here, 4 weeks, but hey, look, who's counting? We got our first W. We're on the board. We're on a bye week. I took a little time to bring this to you because, A, I wanted to look at this game again because we acquired 7 sacks in this game. And as we all know, we don't get 7 sacks in a game. That's not what we do. And so I needed to see if this was a byproduct of us actually playing good football, good coverage down the field, and guys getting pressure because the coverage and the pressure went hand in hand, or did Mr. Flynn just stink it up and he wasn't going through his progressions and he just held on to the ball way too long? I didn't know which was which, but I said I'd figure it out. So I went back and checked out the film, and I'll give you my findings a little bit later, but forget about that. Let's get to what happened last Sunday in Oakland as the Redskins were able to get a victory, the first of the season, 24-14. And now, we didn't get there the way that we would have liked to, but a win is a win. And so I'll take it any way I can get it, including, and let me tell you a quick story before we get started. Look, I was talking to a couple of viewers of the show, and my buddy, best friend, one of my best friends, Oakland Raiders fan, and I was telling anybody that would listen, look, I want Terrell Pryor to play. If we can't stop the Raiders and Terrell Pryor, if we can't stop a mobile quarterback for the Oakland Raiders, then what are we going to do when we play the 49ers with Colin Kaepernick? What are we going to do when we play the Eagles again with Michael Vick? We've still got mobile quarterbacks left on the schedule. We need to be able to stop Terrell Pryor and the Oakland Raiders from doing whatever it is they want to do on us in this football game. I want Terrell Pryor to play. I expect him to play, and I wouldn't have it any other way. That's what I said prior to Sunday's game. What I really meant to say was, please don't play Terrell Pryor. Please don't play. And the Denver Broncos did us a huge favor because I told everyone that would listen, I want him to play. I want him to play. Watching this game, if Terrell Pryor would have played, and you can say what you want, Redskins fan, not a Redskins fan, say what you want. If Terrell Pryor plays in this game, we lose. And you can say whatever you want to say. I'm telling you right now, if you want to jump into a 14-0 hole and think that Terrell Pryor isn't going to scramble on us and extend plays and pick up some first downs and put more points on the scoreboard, you're sadly mistaken. We're not that good on defense to just stop the scoring at 14 like we did in this game. If Terrell Pryor plays, we're in trouble. We don't win this football game. I just hope you know that. And I had to tell my buddy, I said, and before I could even get it out, he said, you know what? I'm not even mad. And I cut him off before he could finish. I said, and I know why you're not mad. Because if Terrell Pryor plays, you guys win the game. He said, exactly. And we left it at that. And so let's get to the game, break it down, and talk about what happened and that allowed us to get our first victory on the season. So look at the board. Watch the Redskins 0-3 at the 1-2 Oakland Raiders. And we got the ball first. Yuck. You know how I feel about us getting the football first. That means we're not getting it after the half. I don't like it, but there's nothing I can do about it. So we get the football first, and we make a concerted effort to run the football. First and second down, we hand it to Alfred Morris. And really, I don't think Kyle Shanahan realized that against Detroit, we had threw it so many times. I don't think until after the game was finished, he realized that, man, we threw the ball 50 times versus the Detroit Lions. The discrepancy between pass and run was out of whack. That ratio can't be that skewed to the pass. He knows that, came out and tried to run it on that first possession. It didn't work, but at least I saw the effort being put forth to run the football. So And I asked for that. I asked for us to run it twice, if at all possible. We did that. And look, we set ourselves up for third and manageable. And the Tanner man was open on third down, and he simply dropped the football. Look, I'm not mad because the Tanner man usually comes down with the football. Every now and again, you'll get a lapse in concentration and you'll get a drop. That's what we got here. I don't like to see that, especially at the beginning of the game, because we need to get off to faster starts. And that plagued us in this game as well, but luckily for us, we were playing the Oakland Raiders. And they don't know what to do with a 14-point lead. And so we got lucky, but Tanner man drops a pass, easy catch in his hands. Nobody's around him on third down. That really stopped that drive right in its tracks because he catches that football. That's probably about a 15-yard gain or so. No telling what he gets after the catch. And we're starting to feel good. We picked up a first down. We're moving the football. Instead, we got to punt. Raiders get the football. Arakpo sack ends the Raiders' first drive. And we know how well Brian Arakpo plays in Oakland. And I needed to write down his whole name. Normally, I call him Rack. But because Dick Stockton thinks, and this has been going on for years, Dick Stockton seems to think that his name is Brian Arakpo, I had to write down his whole name. Dick, please, for the love of you-know-what, his name is Brian Arakpo, not Brian Arakpo. And it's not Roy Helu, it's Roy Helu Jr. You're getting out of control with this, and I know you're an old guy, and you've been doing this a while, but someone has to tell him that you're messing up these guys' name. This has been going on for years. He's got to cut that out. But anyway, so Rakpo, you know what Rak does when he comes out to Oakland. He has a monster game. He did it again in this game. Another unsuccessful drive by us. We go 3 and out, and this one was pathetic because we looked out of sync. The passes weren't even close. We didn't look like a team that was getting any kind of continuity, nor did we look like a team that was having any kind of offensive rhythm or flow early in this football game. And that's been the story of the Redskins early in the season. No flow offensively whatsoever to start games out. So we got to punt again. This time, when we're up to punt, it's blocked. And the Raiders get a touchdown. And I was like, come on, man. What are we doing giving up a block punt? We're not good enough to give up points on special teams. Cheap ones at that. I mean, punt is blocked. It's in the end zone. Scooped up. Touchdown. They didn't even have to run. It's in the end zone. Touchdown. It's too easy. We're not good enough to give up those type of points. And good teams don't have breakdowns on special teams like this. So now I want to know, who's the culprit? What happened on this play? Well, I need not look any further than Perry Riley Jr. Perry Riley did absolutely nothing on special teams on this play. He let his man go, and he released, and he went down the field to tackle. Well, guess what? You going to make a tackle doesn't matter if you don't block the guy and stop him from blocking the punt. And so he just, ole! And he let him by, blocked the punt. They scoop and score, touchdown. We're down 7-0. And just like that, the Raiders have all the momentum, crowds in the game. Everything that we didn't want to happen at the outset of this game is happening right away. Crowds in the game, Raiders off to a 7-0 lead. They've got confidence now, and we don't have any rhythm offensively. This does not bode well for us. So, we get the football back after that touchdown. Pierre Garçon catches a wide receiver screen. That's the first down. Then we punt. Seems like every game, our first down comes on a Pierre Garçon wide receiver screen. If not that, then maybe we run the football effectively. We did against Detroit early on. Garçon had a end around, and then Alfred had a 9-yard gain. But for the most part, when we get it going offensively, the first good passing play that we have this season has been the wide receiver screen to Pierre Garçon. And that's what happened here. Got us a first down, kind of got our feet wet a little bit. But we did nothing with it. We punted thereafter, and so we've got to be better to start out games offensively. That's still an Achilles heel, and I expect it to get better as the season wears on, but that wasn't the case in this game. The Raiders get the football, and our third down tackling was bad on that possession. Leads to a first down. Jennings catches a pass out, and Darren McFadden went down. Marcel Reese goes down, and so you're thinking to yourself, hey, that's all of their rushing attack. And that's a guy that is a jack of all trades for them in Marcel Reese. Both of them down. They're already minus Terrell Pryor. We ought to take advantage of this Raiders team. Offensively, they can't get it going because they don't have their best players out on the football field. I just mentioned all three of their dynamic weapons that touch the ball the most, probably I'd say the most often of all of the Raiders. Darren McFadden, Marcel Reese, Terrell Pryor. None of them are in the game. We need to force this Raiders offense into some mistakes and get the football back. We need to start forcing turnovers. That's something I talked about in the preview for this game. We got to start forcing the issue, forcing turnovers, something we did very well last year, something that saved us, was our saving grace last season because we weren't that good defensively, but we forced turnovers. And you know what turnovers are. You already know that turnovers are the great equalizer. And we need to start balancing the playing field because our defense isn't that good. So we got to tackle better. And he caught the football. Rashard Jennings was in for McFadden. And we made this guy look like we made Joyce Bell look the week prior. Like a guy that just couldn't be stopped. He's running through arm tackles and running people over. And I was like, come on, guys. Really? Stop it. And get this guy on the ground and force Matt Flynn to beat you. You're allowing guys to make plays after they get the football, and that's not necessary. Make Matt Flynn beat us because I don't think he can. And so they moved the ball down the field. They matriculated it down the field, and they get into the red zone, and Rat can't catch. And this one really made me mad because I'm talking about getting turnovers, and I'm talking about us forcing turnovers and forcing the issue. Here's a golden opportunity for Rat, who drops into coverage, and I say this all the time, he can't catch. He's got stone for hands. He can't catch the football. And you know who would have caught that pass? Do you know where I'm going with this one? I'm going to give you a second. Who am I about to say? If you said, who is Rob Jackson? That is correct. So you know what I was saying on this play? You remember when Ronald Reagan was the president when the Redskins won the Super Bowl and he wanted to throw a pass and he said, where's Ricky Sanders? Remember that? They play it all the time. Well, when he dropped that pass, I said, where's Rob Jackson? Don't worry about it. Rob will be back next game against the Cowboys. He's coming off that 4-game suspension. So is Jarvis Jenkins. That feels good. So we've got guys coming back. But I won't have to ask this question again. Where's Rob Jackson? I know where he'll be next week, but in the meantime, Rat's got to have that one. We got to have that one. You know why we got to have it? Because on the very next play on third down, the Raiders score a touchdown. They score a touchdown. Michael Rivera gets loose in the secondary in zone coverage. Easy pitch and catch. Touchdown. They're up 14-0. We are in a 14-0 hole in Oakland on the road. And we're not playing good football. And this is the worst start that we could have possibly had in this game. Crowds involved. They're feeling good. They feel confident that they can get a win at our expense. And we're not playing good football. We haven't strung together a drive yet. We haven't even looked like a team that was going to threaten to score early on in this game. And so now they're scoring points offensively. We're in a world of trouble right now. We need something to jumpstart this football team. And that something was the no-huddle offense. Really good and refreshing to see the Redskins use the no-huddle. That's something that we don't do very often. Even when we're down and we need it, I don't see the Redskins using no-huddle that often. And so that was something that surprised me. Pretty sure it surprised you. And it worked, and it surprised the Raiders as well. They didn't expect it either. And so Redskins go no-huddle, first time of the season. Get all the way down the field. But quarter ends, and it saves the Raiders. The quarter, I was saying, man, we need to hurry up and score before this quarter runs out. Because once this quarter runs out, we switch ends of the field. They're going to be able to catch their breath, regroup, and we're not going to get in the end zone. And that's exactly what happens. That quarter ends, saves the Raiders. Skins settle for 3 after intentional grounding. The first play after the end of the quarter, Robert Griffin III is pressured. Intentional grounding is called. We go from second and goal from, I call it the 5-yard line to third and goal from like the 17. It was bad, 22-yard line or so. We throw a nice pass to Pierre Garçon, and I thought the Redskins used exactly what they saw the Chiefs do on Thursday Night Football the week prior, where they just kept dumping off the ball to Donnie Avery on little drag routes and just had guys block down the field. And it almost worked. Pierre got down to about the 3-yard line, stepped out of bounds, couldn't get it in the end zone. We had to settle for a field goal. So John Potter comes in, tacks on 3. It's 14-3. At least we were able to stop the bleeding. We were bleeding profusely at 14-0. We were able to get a little bit of peroxide, pour it on the wound. We stop the bleeding. Now we need a Band-Aid. Now we need something to cover it up so that it doesn't get infected. And that cover was a cover corner. And you know how I feel about good old David Amerson. Good old DA, I love him. I told you, I like this young fella. I like him a lot. I like him a lot. And so, we do a garbage corner blitz on third down. What were we thinking? I hate when we do predictable blitzing. And we do that very often. How often is it that we blitz and we get in scot-free and get to the quarterback? Not often. When we blitz, seems like we blitz in vain sometimes because we don't get to the quarterback enough when we blitz. And when you blitz, you leave coverage behind you exposed. We gave up a first down. But, let's go Rook. David Amerson, pick 6 on third down. He read this one like a book. He saw the receiver and his split, and he knew that the route was going to be an in-breaking route. He saw the drag across the field. He trailed it. It's almost like he baited Matt Flynn into this throw because it looked like Denarius Moore was open. And for a split second, he was open. But Matt Flynn didn't throw the football out in front of him. That's number one. Number two, he took too long. If you're going to be late, you're going to pay for it in this league. And he was late. Amerson undercut it, picked it off, took it the distance. All of a sudden, the momentum has shifted in this game from 14-0 to 10-14 like that in the blink of an eye. And that's exactly what we needed. We needed someone to step up and make a play. I said we needed to force some turnovers. That's a huge one, a critical one in this game. That was probably the momentum turner in this football game. We needed something good to happen for us, and David Amerson provided that with that pick 6. So that was a huge play for us in the game, especially at the time that we needed it. In that juncture of the game, we didn't come away with 7. We were feeling kind of defeated. You only get a field goal. Raiders probably felt like they had won, being able to get a stop, 1st and goal inside the 5, and we come away with a field goal. Raiders felt good about themselves. That interception really put a damper on the Raiders and their start to the game. So you go from there to great tackle by Merriweather that forces a 4th down. And I'm like, man, we don't get to say that often, great tackle by such and such. We don't get to say that often, but Merriweather got the receiver down short of the sticks. It was 4th and short. Raiders had to punt, or so we thought. Fake punt. And I got mad at Aldrick Robinson because he had a shot at Tywan Jones. But make no mistake about it, Tywan Jones can flat out fly. And even though I thought Aldrick Robinson had a shot at him, he couldn't beat that speed. Speed! He couldn't catch up to Tywan Jones in that speed. Tywan Jones left him in the dust, got the first down. That was disappointing because after that touchdown, after that pick 6, I was looking forward to getting a stop, getting off the field, getting the football back to the offense and seeing if we could capitalize off of that momentum. But this fake punt got the crowd back involved in the football game, kind of put us back on our heels a little bit, and it kind of took some of the momentum that we were building away from us. Even though they ended up having to punt off of that fake punt, it didn't yield them enough first downs to even get a field goal attempt. They still had to punt. It was still frustrating because that gave them a little bit of momentum back. It took a little bit of the momentum away from us, and it got the crowd back involved because they were sitting on their hands after that pick 6. So we ultimately forced a punt, but it still achieved a goal in this game. So we get the football back. Great protection on 3rd and 7, and it was a great pitch and catch, Griffin to Garcon. I thought everything on this play was the way you draw it up. It was magnificent. The blocking on this play, Raiders sent 7 on this play, and we picked it up beautifully. Roy Halou was in the game, stonewalled the blitz. Robert had the presence of mind to climb the pocket. I mean, he stepped up beautifully, took about 2 steps. The rush went past him because everyone did their job. When teams send 7, normally someone's unaccounted for. We did a good job of making sure that every single person was accounted for. We did a lot of max protect in this game to make sure that Robert was back there secure in the pocket. Everyone did their job, did it well. He was able to step up, had a clear vision and clear lane of which to throw. Found Garcon down the middle of the field, and it was a beautiful connection on the play. Huge 3rd down conversion to Roy Halou Jr. He was really big in this game, especially once Alfred Morris went down. When AM went down, Roy Halou Jr. stepped up. And I said that last week. I want to see more of this guy. I said that in the preview for this game. I wanted to see Roy Halou Jr. more. He's an asset to us. Normally, he hasn't been healthy in the past. He's healthy now. let's use this guy. He can add a dimension to this football team and to this offense that we lacked in the past seasons. He gives us an element of speed. He can catch, has very soft hands out of the backfield. And he's getting better at pass protection. So I want to see more of Roy Halou. Even if AM is healthy, I want to see more of Roy Halou. So bad running by AM leads to 3rd and 3. Look, he had an opportunity to cut inside on a run. He bounced outside. I think he made the wrong decision. He got tackled. If he cuts it back inside, I think there's a lot of room. And if he can make one defender miss, he could have ran for about 50 yards on the play, it seemed like. But look, who am I to tell AM what lanes he should and shouldn't take? From my vantage point, it looked like he had a better option than the one he took. He decided to go outside. He got stopped. It was 3rd and 3 instead of possibly 1st down. So that, to me, set off a chain of events that ended up stopping us from getting points on this possession. Then we had poor time management. After that run that didn't yield us a 1st down, that left us in 3rd and 3, we had poor time management, had to burn a timeout. And after we come back from that timeout, I hate when we do this. You call a timeout, everyone should be prepared, everyone should be on the same page. We should know what's going on. Apparently, that timeout didn't do us any good. We come out of that timeout, and Robert has poor pocket awareness and is sacked for a 10-yard loss. And on this play, he was actually lucky that he didn't fumble. Charles Woodson came on a beautifully timed safety blitz and was unaccounted for. And he went swiping at the football. You know what Charles does. Uncle Charles is always looking for the football, and he went swiping for it. And Robert, at the last second, saw him out of the corner of his eye and was able to secure the football and not allow him to strip that football away. But there was no excuse for that. Robert has to have pocket awareness and that mental clock to tell him, hey, it's time to get out of here. If nothing's there, you can't stand back there for 15 seconds. What do you think this is? You got to get out of there. And he was just standing there. Man, if you don't get out of the pocket and go much faster than slow, and he stood there, took a sack, we had to punt. Raiders get the football. Ryan Kerrigan gets a sack on Flynn, forces a punt, and he got in. It was a beautiful rip to the inside, beats Tony Pashos. Does that name sound familiar to you? It should. He was in camp with us as a tackle, and we let him go. Raiders scooped him up, and so Kerrigan must have known that he could beat him with an inside rip move because he went in as soon as the ball was snapped. Inside rip move, beat him straight inside, no help from the guard. Kerrigan was on Flynn before he could blink. And in those type of situations, I was surprised because normally Kerrigan goes after the football. He didn't on this particular play. He blazed Matt Flynn, though. He lit him up. But it would have been nice if he would have swiped at the football like Uncle Charles did. If he would have did that, Flynn had no idea he was there. That ball would have came out, and I think we would have recovered. Instead, he went for the knockout shot. He hit him, gave him a nice shot. Flynn went down. They had to punt the football. Kerrigan is a stud. He's going to lead this team in sacks this year. I guarantee that if he stays healthy. And so we get the football back. And I was disappointed with this drive. I felt like we had momentum. After getting another stop, Kerrigan got to the quarterback. Griffin's still struggling with eye discipline and decision-making. Offense stinks. We go into the half at 14-10. I was disappointed with that drive prior to the half. I felt like he was staring down receivers. And you got to have great eye discipline. You can't telegraph where you're going with the football. He was lucky that one of these passes before the half wasn't picked off because he was staring down one of his receivers, and he did it last week against Detroit, almost threw an interception. You got to stop staring down guys. You got to be able to look defenders off. You got to know where your guys are going to be at all times, and then find them and get them the football. You can't predetermine where you're going with the football, and I think sometimes Robert predetermines where he's going to go with the football. I watched some film, some all-22 footage. Last week I did the same this week, and I saw the same thing. Robert is predetermining sometimes where he's going to go with the football. And to me that's frustrating because you can't predetermine where you're going with the football. You let coverage and the defense and the coverage that they're in dictate where you go with the football. And sometimes I don't think he does that. And at the end of the half, it was apparent that he wasn't doing that. Before he broke the huddle, he was going to his first read, and it didn't matter what the defense was. And he was staring it down, and he was telegraphing where he was going with the football. And we could have paid for that. He's got to be better than that. So we go to the half down by 4, but we're lucky to be down 4. I mean, when you start the way that we did in this game, down 14-0, this easily could have gotten out of control. Luckily for us, once again, this was the Oakland Raiders. minus Terrell Pryor. Again, thanks goes out to the Denver Broncos. Big shout out to the Denver Broncos for that. So we start off the second half and we force a punt. And that's great. Now we're getting the football back, but then we go 3 and out and punt the football as well. So, both teams are struggling offensively right now. And then we get the football back. Lumberjack has great tenacity on this play. I mean, he catches the ball. Robert escapes a little bit of pressure, eludes the rush, gets it to Lumberjack as he climbs the pocket. I thought he did a wonderful job of climbing the pocket in this game, did Robert. And he gets it to Lumberjack. Lumberjack catches the football, and we know how tough this guy is. It's hard to bring him down with one defender, and you saw it on this play. I mean, he refused to go down, but at some point, you got to know when to say when. I felt like that Budweiser commercial back in the day. Friends know when to say when. I felt like someone needed to come and tell our good buddy Lumberjack. Someone needed to tell Logan Paulson, hey, man, it's time to go down. It's like 8 Raiders, no Redskins around. You're by yourself. Hey, dude, you just need to fall down at this point. And they were hacking at the ball. They were stripping. At some point, I started to say to myself, if he doesn't go down soon, he's going to. And before I could finish my sentence, the ball came squirting out. Boop! And, of course, the Raiders scooped it up. And that could have been catastrophic for us because that would have gave them a prime opportunity to score. That turnover put them in Redskins territory. And I was like, oh, man, that's the last thing we could afford to have happen. And all I could do was applaud the effort. But at some point, you got to go down. You got to know, okay, I fought enough. I've gotten enough yards. This thing could turn against me if I don't go down here. And that's what he needed to do. So I wasn't mad because you can't fault that effort. All you can do is applaud that effort and say, hey, the next time you find yourself in that type of situation, go down. Go down after you break about 3 tackles and it's 8 Raiders or you're outnumbered 8-1, go down on the ground. Go down on the turf or stop your forward progress so that the officials will blow the whistle and whatever happens after that is irrelevant. So it doesn't matter. Huge play by Rack on 3rd and 1. They tried to run up the middle. Rack knifes in, gets a stop on the ball carrier, stops him dead in his tracks, about a yard short of the sticks. They got to settle for a 52-yard field goal. And they've struggled. Sebastian Janikowski has struggled because of the new holder in Oakland. They have a new punter, Marquette King, who hasn't been doing a great job of holding the football, and it showed up here. I don't want to hear the excuse about kicking on the infield dirt. Sebastian Janikowski has been doing that for 14 years and has done a wonderful job of doing so. Don't tell me that he's struggling on the infield dirt. That's not the issue. The issue is the holder. Hey, we benefited from it. You're not going to hear me complain. He hooks it wide left. We dodged the bullet. The turnover doesn't come back to haunt us. It's still a 4-point deficit for our Redskins. So we get the football back. And what that miss does is not only does it keep the Raiders from putting more points on the board, not only does it take the crowd out of the game and suck any momentum away from the Raiders and sends Uncle Mo to our side, but it gives us great field position. And so AM wakes up and gets it going on the ground. We missed the opportunity for a Fred Davis pass interference. This one kind of made me upset because we don't get free yards a lot. And good teams get free yards. And if you watched Thursday Night Football last night, the Bills scored on their first or second possession. I want to say it was their first possession of the game. And they scored a touchdown on 2 plays. And one of the plays was about a 31-yard pass interference in the end zone that put them at the 1-yard line. Those are free plays. Those are free yardages that you have to take advantage of. And we had an opportunity to do that, but Robert overshot Fred by so much that the referee said it was uncatchable. They picked up the... And every single official threw the flag on that one. It was blatantly pass interference. It was 3 flags on the ground in the end zone, all for PI, except they all came to the conclusion that the ball was uncatchable. Got to give Fred an opportunity to make a play on the ball so that we can get a PI right there, get the ball at the 1-yard line and get a touchdown. That was easy pickings, and we blew that opportunity. A little disappointing there. But Hank with a huge catch and run on 3rd down. Hank was huge in this game. He's starting to get it. He's coming into his own. I love the progress that Hank is making as a receiver on this football team. He leads to Garcon catching a slant on third down for a touchdown. We take the lead for the first time in the game, 17-14. So that was a huge play in the game. Getting that stop, Rack getting that stop on third down, leading to the missed field goal, which leads to Alfred Morris getting it going on the ground. Hank catches a huge pass on third down, gets us down to about the 12-yard line. Garcon ends up catching a slant on third down to get in the end zone. We take the lead. So huge plays by the Redskins, finally take the lead. I felt good about having the lead because I felt like we were in a position now to put this football game away. Back-to-back sacks by Cofield, and Rack forces a punt. And look, I felt like we were really getting to the quarterback. I needed to go back and watch film, however, to see if we were really getting pressure or was Matt Flynn simply not reading the field well. And it was a combination of both. We had 7 sacks in the game. 4 of our sacks were legitimate sacks, where it didn't matter who was at quarterback, they would have went down if they were in the pocket. 3 of the sacks that we had, one was a Darryl Tapp, like slide for a negative 2 yards. He was credited with the sack. That doesn't count. Another sack was Rack getting a coverage sack. The coverage was down the field. It was beautiful. And he spun off of his blocker, was able to get to the legs of Matt Flynn. That was a coverage sack. Another opportunity for Flynn to get rid of the football, because he could have got rid of it on that play where Rack got the sack. He could have got rid of the football. He didn't. And there was another play where he had an open receiver. He didn't go through his progressions fast enough. That led to a sack by Cofield. And so we got pressure, legitimate pressure, but we also got some coverage sacks because Matt Flynn didn't do a good job of reading the field. One of those sacks by Cofield was exactly that. Him not doing a great job of reading the field. So we'll take it. I'll take it. That was part of the reason that the Raiders felt the need to demote Matt Flynn to third string quarterback after this game, because they felt like his play was that bad and he didn't play that well. So now we look and Robert misses Tanner on a deep ball. That one really got me going. It really got my blood boiling, because in this league you don't get opportunities that often to hit a big play and score a touchdown. We saw what happened to us last week against Detroit. Had an opportunity with the Aldrick Robinson, 57-yarder. He doesn't come up with it. We end up losing the football game. You don't get those opportunities that often. Tanner beat Tracy Porter on the play, man-to-man coverage, smoked him, was open, had about a 3-step gap between the two, and Robert just overshot him by about a good 2 or 3 yards. Oh, come on, Rob, you got to hit that. Last year, Robert hits that pass. This year, he's still trying to work his way back. I need him to be able to hit that pass coming off the bye. From here on out, he's got to hit that one. The good ones in the league, they don't miss that pass right there. You got to hit that one. That would have put this game away. Instead, he misses Tanner. We end up having to punt. So I looked at the Raiders' next possession, and Fletcher misses a tackle on Rashad Jennings in the open field, and he ends up getting 13 yards on his play. And I couldn't help but think to myself, Fletcher's losing it, folks. I don't know if you saw it or not. Look, he's 37 years old. So we're past the, losing a step phase. He's lost a step a long time ago. But the one thing I could always count on with Fletch was that he'd make the tackle. By hook or by crook. Whether it was shoestring or he'd hold on until the cavalry arrived, he'd always make sure that the guy that he was targeting got down on the turf. He's not doing that anymore. And at this point, if he's not making tackles out in the open field, we're in trouble. And he's losing it. I've seen this guy miss too many tackles this year. He's not the same Fletch. And I think after this season, we might be inclined to have to move on. That's why the injury to Robinson in the offseason was so big, was so critical, because he was supposed to be groomed to take over that middle linebacker position. Now Keenan Robinson going down has really put a hold on him being able to slide in and do it comfortably at that middle linebacker position. But it doesn't matter. Cofield gets a sack and ends this possession, and it was a huge play. Cofield got to Matt Flynn, got him on the turf, forced them to punt. They were actually driving the football because the Jennings play happened. They got another first down. They were moving the football. Cofield gets the sack, forces them to punt the football. So that was a huge play in the game. Roy Halou Jr. runs and fumbles. Woo-wee! Catches the football, takes about a good 2 or 3 steps, gets hit. The Raiders put their helmets right on the football, dislodged it. That thing flew out of his hand like it was shot out of a cannon. Raiders recover the ball. That could have been the death sentence of us in this football game. If this play is upheld, if the Redskins don't catch a break, if the Raiders don't commit a penalty here, if Lamar Houston isn't offsides on this play, this could have been the play that changed the game in the Raiders' favor, and we could have lost this football game. Instead, and this is what I talk about with us getting breaks. We got a lot of breaks in this game, and this was one of them. This was a huge turn of events. Instead of that being a fumble, it's a offsides penalty. It negates the fumble. We get the football back, and man, do we take advantage of that penalty. We don't get anything on that possession, but just dodging that bullet was huge. So they get the football back, we punt, and Kerrigan forces a fumble. And that's the thing I love about Ryan Kerrigan, and that's why I was surprised earlier when he got the sack and a clean hit on Flynn that he didn't go for the football. This guy is always looking to go after the football. And on this play, he didn't even touch Flynn. He got pushed around, but he beat his man, and as he was going by, slapped the football right out of Matt Flynn's hand as he was going to wind up to throw it. Ball's on the ground. Cofield scoops it up. We're in business, in Raider territory, and this time we've got good field position, and we're not going to squander it. Roy Halou Jr., like I said, was huge in the second half, and on this play, this was beautiful on both Robert Griffin III and Roy Halou Jr.'s part. You look at Robert in the pocket. He's under siege. A guy has a chance to get him. He's headhunting. Robert ducks under the pressure, spins out of the pocket, gets outside, finds Roy Halou darting out towards the sidelines, hits him perfectly in the chest, allows him to catch it and go up the field. There's a Raider defender right by the sidelines. Roy Halou hurdles him and picks up an additional 6 yards on the play. It was beautiful. 28-yard gain, puts us inside the Raiders' red zone. On the very next play, we do a draw handoff to Roy Halou. He darts in and out of the defense, finds a hole, runs through an arm tackle, runs over a defender as he plows into the end zone. 24-14 with less than 5 minutes to go in the game. That is all she wrote, essentially. Now, as a Redskins fan, especially the way we've been playing, I'm still inclined to think that something can and probably will go wrong at this point, and it'll make us sit on the edge of our seats, biting our fingernails. So I didn't say that the game was over, but I felt so much better that we were up by 2 scores, up by 10 points after this touchdown. It made me feel a sense of relief. I could actually exhale because even if the Raiders score a touchdown, they're still down and they still need the football back. And so I felt good about being up 10. The Raiders get the football back, and this is what I was talking about. I was nervous because I said we're going to start playing soft coverage. We're going to give up some chunks. They're going to move the ball down the field quickly. It's going to be our job to make sure that even if they get a field goal, they do not get in the end zone. Whatever they do, they don't find the end zone. Make them have to get the football back and find a way into the end zone, not kick a long field goal to tie this game up. So 26 yards to Rivera. After that, 14 yards to Rod Streeter. Raiders are in scoring position just like that. And that's what I was afraid of. 2 plays, 40 yards, boom, they're right in scoring position. But we get a stop on 3rd and 1 that forces the Raiders into a 4th and 1 decision. Now, they've got a tough decision to make. They've got a TD. TD, tough decision. Do they go for it on 4th down and go to get the hardest part of the equation out of the way, which is a touchdown? Or do they settle for the field goal, which they have already missed 1 on the game, and get that portion of the equation out of the way and cut it to a 1-score game? They elected to go for the 1st down to try and net themselves a touchdown, and we weren't having it. And we weren't having it on 3rd or 4th and short all game long. Kudos to the guys up front for having the wherewithal and the want to and the grit and the toughness to not give it up on 3rd and short, 4th and short all game long. We were stymieing the Raiders in short yardage situations, and we did it again here. Matt Flynn never even sees the line of scrimmage, as before he could even try to gather himself to go, he's already been hit, and he fumbles the football. We recover, and that was it. Once we recovered that fumble, the game was essentially over in my mind. Raiders were going to have to use their timeouts. We were going to be able to eat up precious time, and they still needed 2 scores there's not enough time for that. We've got this one locked up. And so Roy Halou Jr. gets a first down on 3rd and 6, and that seals the victory for the Redskins as we take it home 24-14 going into the bye week. Huge win for our Skins. And so I was elated because I wanted this one. We needed this one. We had to have it. And so we didn't leave this game without a couple of nicks and bruises. You look at the injury box here. Morgan went out of the game with a hamstring, but he did come back, so he's fine. D'Angelo Hall went out of the game. He came back, though, had an ankle. I didn't think he was going to be able to come back. He did. He played solidly, and so he'll be fine. Rakpo left the game with a leg injury. I was a little nervous because anytime he goes down, I always immediately think shoulder. It wasn't the shoulder. It was the leg. It was the knee and the ankle. He went on the sideline, worked it out, came back in the game immediately, and actually got a sack. Morris left the game with the ribs. We know he had a rib contusion, left the game, bruised ribs, didn't come back, had him wrapped up. Think he'll be fine after the bye week, but he's probably the most serious of all the injuries. Chris Neal got hurt. His injury was undisclosed. He didn't come back in the game either, but we're fine at the nose tackle, especially with Jarvis Jenkins coming back. That's going to allow a guy like Chris Baker to slide over and play some nose as well. So feel good about what we have. And he played a really strong game, did Chris Baker, in this football game. So I felt like we've got our stuff coming back in Jenkins and Jackson. Feel really good about that. We're going to get our field goal kicker, Kai Forbath, back after this bye week as well. So feel like we're getting healthy. We're getting our stuff back. And that's the best thing for us because we don't have any more breaks after this. We got our bye. This is the worst bye you could possibly have this early in the season. What do you do with a week 5 bye? I don't know. But we're going to make do with the bye that we have and try to come out, and hopefully this bye does for us what it did last year. It rejuvenates us and we come back a different football team. Hopefully we can get on a winning streak. We got some tough games coming up. You know, we got the Cowboys. That's right off the bat, Cowboys week. And we'll start that nice and early next week. I'll be back early in the week to start Cowboys week. But got Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Then we got the Chicago Bears, and then we got the Denver Broncos. So, I mean, it doesn't get any easier for us on this schedule. I mean, we got some tough games coming up. But, look, when you win a division, I already said this, when you win a division, nothing comes easy for you. You got to go out and you got to strap it up every single week. And so we got to beat good teams. If we want to get to where we are trying to go, we got to beat good teams. And so we got it done against the Raiders. And we got lucky. If Terrell Pryor plays, I don't know if we get this one, but I do not care. We are on the board. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so I feel great. We're 1-3. We're on the bye week. Hopefully we come back and we can get it done, but we got our 1. You can't get to 2 without 1. Can't get to 3 without 2. So it's one game at a time. Next game up, Dallas Cowboys. This division stinks right now. Okay? Giants, 0-4. Eagles, 1-3, just like us. Cowboys had an opportunity to run away and hide with this thing. They've lost 2 close ball games to 2 AFC West teams. They're 2-2 on the season. So no one has ran away with anything. As bad as we've started this season, we are 1 game out of first place. Nothing has changed. My mentality remains the same and intact. We are going to win the NFC East by hook or by crook. We are going to get it done. And so, I'm a Redskins fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskin spirit will never die. My Redskin spirit will never fold until we meet again. Hail to the Redskins. We on the board. We got 1. 1 of many. The first of many. We've got plenty more work to do. Plenty more work to be done. But 1 at a time. We can only hack away at this thing 1 game at a time. Raiders were up next. Took care of business. Cowboys are up next. Got to take care of that business when it gets here. So we got 1. That's all I can keep saying. We got 1. The first one was the most important one. We got that one out of the way. I feel pretty good now. Now we can start settling in I think Robert's going to come back a little bit healthier after this bye week. Look, we'll get into all of that. I've said enough today. Just know we are on the board. Yeah! We're 1-3. We got it done. See you next time on the Redskins Report.
The Redskins Report.